The thing with greens is some of you already know a little bit and some of you don't. So I'm going to show you so you don't have to waste your time experimenting and learning because that takes years. And so I'll just give you a bunch of shortcuts and then you can experiment, which helps, okay? So obviously we all know blue and yellow make green, right? We all know that from kindergarten and painting, experimenting. But all these different yellows, these are all different yellows. So, and I have them up there if you need to borrow them. This one is lemon yellow. This is cad yellow, right? This is yellow ochre, that's a yellow. And even the orange is a yellow. It's also a red, right? But we're gonna, and then even this is a yellow, okay, in our world. Because all you have to do is put a tiny bit of yellow and it's yellow, right? Cool yellow. So now this is a green that comes out of the tube that I think is the one I got everyone to buy. No matter which one you buy, you have to adjust them because they always come out like this, generally. You can have a different one, but this is a good one to have because this one you can change in either direction. You can make it olive green and you can make it, right? So it's super, this is the stuff that you guys know. You could take some dark green, some dark blue into it, and you can enrich it. We already know that red makes green dark, right? And it does it in a way that's really nice for landscape because it makes it muddy and neutralized. But we can lighten it up too with some yellow. We can lighten it up with different yellows. And all this is here is basically the green with red. So whenever you have a green and it's bright, you're gonna add red, you're gonna add orange to deepen it, and to brighten it, let's just talk about the plain greens, you're just gonna add the yellow. That will brighten it. See how bright that is? So not much in nature is that bright, and that's not even the brightest. You want the brightest thing that you could possibly get, and we're talking like right here. That would just be this very light blue with the lightest lemon yellow, that just alone. You will have the brightest yellow you can possibly get. Fluorescent, actually.
You mean green?
I mean green, yes. Thank you. You guys correct me. So I'm gonna add a little white to that, and you can see just how bright that can get, okay? And that's that's the brightest that you can get. So now, obviously, if you did this blue with that, it's going to be a different bright. It won't be as bright. It will be a different kind of green, but it will also be bright. But these are way too bright to put into any landscape. I don't see this anywhere. Do you see this anywhere? Mm-mm. Not even here. This is not that color, right? You don't see that. So the only time you ever see something like that is maybe in a flower, at the very end, kind of sparkling on top if you build up to it, but otherwise you won't, okay? It's very rare. So that's why we're muting our colors. So you can get a very bright green like that in a different way. Well, you can start with that, right? And then we can start to play around with it by muting it. First we'll add white, see what that does. Then we can add the tan, because that always fixes everything. And then we could add a little more green. But we want to find a white that is, a yellow that's like that. So what you need on your palette in order to do this is a whole bunch of greens. That's what you need. Because I'm reaching over to find my other greens and I don't have them. So I need a support system back here. So before all these greens they come from your palette, but they don't come from here. So we're gonna make a ton of different greens, okay? So black, you have to have black. And I know I didn't tell you to get black, so I have black over there. You have to have black, it lasts forever, one of those. But black and yellows, any of these yellows make wonderful greens for landscape. Instantly, I have what happens when green and red come together. Instantly, right? So that's just mixing two colors together without anything else. I can have a green that is relatively like a landscape color, right? Now I can play with this. So that's just black and yellow. That's why that's an essential color. Then I can add to it, right? I can add blues to it, see what that does. I can add reds to it, see what that does. I could add yellow ochres to it, see what that does, right? And then I'm making tiny piles here, but that's not what I want you to do. I want you to make big ones. So I want you to take the yellow ochre and the black, and what do they do together? They make a very specific kind of green. And this is a green you're gonna want. You're gonna want this green. Why? Look at this green. It's a dark green, right? That's not a brown. It's not brown, it's green. And I could just put a tiny bit of red or blue in there. I could put a little blue in there and push it right into that color. Because that pretty much is that color, bang, right? That with a tiny bit of the buff. Look, I have these colors already. That with a tiny bit of blue in it, right? Pushing it to the cooler sides. You know, you see that these are all the colors in here, right? And so now you don't have to think so much. You can just do. So you could even write this down, but just it's very simple. Black and the greens. But try each one of the blacks with black and the yellows. And then try each one of these yellows with the black. And right there, you can have a huge pile up. I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to take all the time. But if I just had black with Naples yellow, I have a green over here. See this green? These are the greens that nature does, okay? Here it is. It's a gray green, right? Now I just push that with a tiny bit more or a tiny bit of white, and I can just lean it into these weeds. That's what these weeds are. See how I nailed it? Now, I am really good at nailing color. Okay, that's just a skill set I have, but I didn't have it. I built it. And I built it because it's like almost like intuition. There's a lot of intuition that goes in this. So you have to start feeling the colors. And you need to test it. And don't test it on here because then you can't see your drawing. So you need to test it next to it. But you can see, now you know that black with Naples yellow makes all the colors in here that I need. So what other colors are in there, right? There's these reds. Well, since black and Naples yellow makes a kind of gray, I'm going to use this gray into the orange to make the rocks. Okay, so this is what I mean. I'm really showing you what I mean when I say color mixing, okay, integrating. I'm not saying just take the color from here and put it to here. I'm talking about on your palette, right? So you have these beautiful, all of these colors here. You want to get those, well, you're going to mix those into the orange and voila, look what I have, right? And we can just test it, just that, okay? I know I can push this into this color. It's in that range. I also know I can push it into this color, right? I know how. Do you know how? So I have this base, but I didn't get this base until I had this base. And I couldn't get this base and then this base. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's that's what I mean by a lot of intuition. You kind of have to like make this big pile, and then go from this pile to this pile, and then do the blue. Blue's gonna be separate, and then mix that blue into the, right? Okay? And these are the kind of colors you want to see on your palette. These really nice earthy colors, and you want so many of them. And even before you even start painting, say this is my painting, I can do some like checking, Okay, so what I was saying is, do you believe that I can get this to this? And have it, nail it? Okay, I'm gonna use orange, but I'm not gonna put it in the pile because I'm not sure, I'm experimenting. I have a feeling that's what it's gonna do from my experience with these colors. So I'm going to put it in there, and obviously, I'm gonna test it. Okay, so I need it lighter, but not necessarily more orange, right? I don't necessarily need it more orange. More orange is not gonna help me. I need it lighter. So I'm just gonna not go to white. Avoid white when at all possible and use one of these as a white. And just by putting in these, I'm gonna get it lighter to the value I want, and then I'm gonna pop the orange back in. This is another thing, okay, I have to have you guys understand. You want something to be bright, you pop the color back in after you get it to the value you want, okay? So I want this to be bright, but I don't want it to be bright orange. So I'm going to get it really dull. This is not the color I want, but see how it's in the color family that I know I need to be in? And I'm going to get it to the value, if it was black and white, of what this says, about the value, right? Now I'm going to pop that orange right in there, just a tiny bit, and it brightens it. And now I'm getting closer to the orange. I can see it needs a little blue and a little more orange. Can you see that? Okay, this is what I mean by color. Okay, so this is the way you find your color, because it's hard to find that color. This is not orange and white. This is not orange and brown. It's not, and that's, I mean, do you remember what I originally used? I used the tan, the black, and anyway, you'd have to go trace your steps to remember, but once you start doing it, your brain will start remembering it, okay? And then, because there, now I'm closer to it, okay? I could even pop a little yellow into it, because whenever you pop yellow, which is bright, into a pile, what does it do? Instantly. What does it do to it? I'll put more so you can see. What does it do? It brightens it. Any color. I mean, you add a bunch of, you have a nice muted, I can have this nice muted green here, right? And all I have to do is pop yellow into it, and all of a sudden it's the same color, brighter. And white doesn't do that. White does the opposite. It dulls it. White takes it down to the value. So when we're working with color, what we're working with is the value, which is, if I turn this into black and white, I'm gonna barely see the difference between some of this right here probably and this. It'll be the same. But we're not in black and white. So first we have to get the value to the level we want. So that has to match. Now I have the value I want, but maybe it's not the right exact color. Then I tweak that. And one way to do it usually is just adding the brightest thing on top, right? And then voila, you have these brighter yellows, but see how much brighter they look? But they're not bright. But they look brighter. And that's how you build up the brightness on the tree. So you're gonna have these, all of these come from the same base, right? And then they get brighter. And you only add white rarely. You shouldn't add white at all unless you're doing the sky, which I can talk about next. But you do not add white. You add one of these two friends of yours as a white, okay? This is warm, this is cool. However you want to go. All of these can be warm and cool. But I want to have, my palette should be thicker. I should have thicker, I'm just showing you, so. That's how you get green. Any question? Okay, so you just take blue, and we could take yellow ochre, we could get a green, but I just want to show you something. It's not that this is wrong, I just don't really see this anywhere. I have a couple different pictures. Do you see this anywhere? You can't see what I'm saying. Get my drift? I'm saying, yes, you can do that, but you have to mess with it now. Now you have to add red to it. You can't just take a blue and a yellow, of any of the yellows, without messing with it, because it won't be a natural color in nature. I mean, I might find it here, but even then, that's not correct. It's not correct. This is like math. Is it the correct answer? Is that the correct answer to that? How would I get that the correct answer? If you guys want to go paint, you have to answer me. How do I get that? Why is this not the correct answer to this? What's making it not?
It's too bright.
It's too bright. That's probably always going to be your problem. How do I fix it? I add red. I add red or brown because brown is red. Okay? That's it. Brown is red, brown is orange. It can supplement both of those. But yes, add red. Any of the reds. You wanted an orangey red, whatever. But do you see how you have to work with that? Where the black and the yellows just pop? Then when you have the black and the yellow base, you can add the blues to it. And that will work out far, far better for you. Yes? Okay. All right, you want to stay and we'll do the sky? Talk about really quickly? No? Okay, I'll show you the sky, okay? Do this, but I live by it. Okay, so I have blue. I want to make that sky. Okay? See, I have 3 skies. I want to make that. So I have blue and I have burnt umber. And that is all I need. And a lot of white. Okay? So I'm going to start with white. Because since the white is going to be more, I'm going to put the blue, that's too much, blue in the white. And I'm going to work my way up to see how much blue, cerulean blue to be exact, I want in the sky. And it's not turquoise blue. And this is not turquoise, okay? We had turquoise on the white objects, but these skies are not turquoise. Now, you could be in Hawaii and have a turquoise sky, but, right, these aren't turquoise sky. Now, you say this is way too light. Okay, it is, but it's the same recipe. So I'm just gonna go back, and maybe I'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue, but not too much, just so I can deepen that blue a little bit, and then add the brown. And I'm gonna do this in a small amount until I have the color I want, right? And how do I get the color I want? I wanna match it. And so I'm pretty off, so I'm gonna go to the ultramarine blue. It's a mixture. This is more of a cobalt blue, and cobalt is ultramarine and cerulean together, basically. That's why you don't need it, because you can make it. Anyway, I just slowly keep going until I find it, but this is the recipe for it. It's pretty much just this. It's white, the 2 blues, and the brown. And I will nail it, trust me. I'm close, okay? But I haven't yet. Do you see how I haven't yet? So I do this until I do. And then when I do, I make a big pile of it, because I don't want to have to do all that again, right? Okay? And I need a big pile of it. I need a big pile of blue. And then, because I'm going to use this blue in this green. Once I have this blue made, wow, I have something to help me out with my greens, right? That's why you actually want to make all the colors. And all these landscapes, they pretty much have 1, 2, 3. So you have 3 different lines, or you could even have 3 different things of these. And then you need them all made in order to mix them together. You can't just make one and the other. I'd almost just want you to do this, test it, do this, test it, then paint. Okay? And everybody always asks me, where do I start? And the general rule that is the rule of painting is you start from the back. That's the rule of painting. That doesn't mean you have to follow that rule, but it generally does help. If you are working on like a portrait, for example, if you do not have something around their head to paint into their hair, it's gonna be difficult, right? So, you know, everybody wants to go to the nose or whatever, that's your prerogative. But a landscape, you definitely wanna get that sky in. And then you wanna get the middle ground or the foreground. You could do it the opposite way, but you need to get all the layers in with the color that you worked out, and 90% of your work, this took an hour before you're painting. This is all that matters, these colors, and getting them right, and going like this, and getting it right. So it's a math problem, there's a right answer, okay? Okay, when you paint, then you get to have a little more, right? because you have all the work done, and then this is the instrument, so you literally are creating your instrument. You're making the violin to play the music, but you have to make the violin right. So this is more important, okay? So that's where you are.